We're going to talk about surface area today, and surface area is exactly what it sounds like, finding the area of all the surfaces of your 3D shape. Now the surfaces are called faces, that's the vocabulary word for it, and the main thing is to first identify how many faces a shape has and what shape. Okay, one helpful way is to try and do a net. A net is to draw a shape out flat. But some people have a hard time seeing that. So I'm going to do kind of a modified net when I'm teaching you how to find the surface area of all our different shapes. Alright, we're going to start with the surface area of the rectangular prism. Now like I said, it's most important to identify how many faces the shape has and what those are. The rectangular prisms, because every single face is a parallelogram, which is a rectangle or square or so on. Okay, so we're going to be using this formula the whole time, which is nice. And there are 6 of those faces, the 4 sides and the 2 ends. If I unwrap it, you can see those 4 sides and then the 2 ends here. Okay? So here's our shape here. It's 8 by 10 by 5. Okay? So what we're going to do, the easiest way to do this is we even have to totally think it's just matching things up. Okay? So there's a top and a bottom. There's a left and a right, and there's a front and the back. And all of those pairs have to be the same. The top and the bottom have to be the same area. The left and the right and the back have to be the same area. Some of those other ones might be the same too, but at least. So there's pairs of 2 for all 6 sides, right? 2 of the sides on my shape are 10 by 8. In this case, it happens to be the front and the back. But some people have a hard time seeing what side is what. So even if you don't see that that's the front and the back, you can at least see there's a 10 by 8. Okay? There's also a side that's 10 by 5. In a specific shape, it's the bottom and the top of the shape. Those are my 2 sides that are 10 by 5. But again, if you don't see that, that's okay. And the last set is 8 by 5. In this shape, it's the left side and the right side are 8 by 5. Now, you know, really you don't need to be able to see which side is which because numbers and make sure each one is matched up with the other one at least once. We have our 10 by 8, our 10 by 5, and our left. And there's going to be 2 of each of those sides. And that's all you have to do. Okay? So take numbers, match each one with the other one once, and then double all those sides so you have all 6 sides, and that's all you have to do to find the surface area. So let's go ahead and do this out. So 20 times 8 is 60. 20 times 5, get 100, and let's see, this is 40 times 2, so 80. So we have up to get our final product of 340 centimeters squared. And it's still squared because this is surface area, and remember area is 2-dimensional. So we're only talking about the area of the surfaces, not filling the inside, which would be 3-dimensional. Okay, so it's still centimeters squared. So that's it. Just make sure you match up each of the numbers with the other one, double all of them, and add them up. Identify how many faces it's going to have. So if you think about a triangular prism, one here in the it's going to have triangles, which are the 2 bases, and sides that are rectangles. So 5 faces altogether. The 2 triangles on the bases are always going to be the same. The bases have to be the same. The sides, now they may be the same, but they may not. What determines that is what kind of triangle it is. This triangle, you see the triangle is 5 by 12 by 14. This side would be 14. That means all 3 sides are going to be different. My triangular tube here, though, that all 3 sides are the same. That means all 3 of these sides are going to be the same. Okay, so that's what the tube is the sides of the triangle. Let's start making a little organized. Start with the 2 triangles. So there's 2 of them and the same. Okay. Now remember, to find the area of a triangle, base times the height divided by 2. So the base and height of my triangle here is 12. Remember, they have to form a right angle at the base and the height. So I'm going to do 12 times 5 divided by 2 of the shape. So really, this ends up just canceling each other out if you remember that. But be careful. Make sure you divide by 2 before you double, because sometimes people do 12 times 5 and then times 2, so they have twice as much for the triangle as they should. Alright, so our triangles end up 60 millimeters squared, still area. So now we have the 3 rectangles left, the sides of the rectangle. So you can see one here, there's one on the bottom that you can't see, and one on the back. So each of those is going to have 10 dimensions, because 10 is that height going between the two bases. So all of them are 10 long. If you were to look at your shape, this is the 10 is going between the two triangles. So it's one of the sides of all of the rectangles. So I'm going to have 10 times each of the other numbers. The other three numbers are the sides of the triangles, because this surface goes along this 14 here, so 10 by 14. The bottom goes along this 12, so it's 10 by 12. And the back side is 10 by 5, this side of the triangle. So the main thing to remember here is after you find your two triangles, find that height you normally use for the volume, the distance between the two bases, and it's multiplied the three sides of the triangle. Okay, so these are the three sides. So pretty easy, times 10, so 140, 120, and 50. Okay, and now we've accounted for all five sides. Here's the two triangles, and here are the three rectangles, so that's 5 faces altogether. All up, what is that? That's 320, 370 millimeters squared. Okay, so factor in your two triangles, and then this 10 is the height of the shape of the triangular prism. And remember, height is volume. Really, the height is the distance between those two bases. Alright, so we're going to look at finding the surface area of the cylinder. This is by far the hardest one of all three. What is the two ends? The two ends, just like every other shape, the bases are always equal to each other, and they're two circles. So I'm going to do 2 times my circle area, which is pi r squared, times pi n squared. So 10 squared is 100, 100 times pi is 314. So one of the bases is 314. There's two of them, so all that's 628 centimeters squared for the two bases. Right, now the hard part is the side. Okay, I'm going to show you this again so you really understand what we're doing here. So if I remove this inside part and unroll the side, you see the side is a rectangle. Okay, now this side of the rectangle is the height of my shape. See how it was the distance between the two bases right there? Here it is over here. That's at 16. I wrapped up, the 16 was right there, and I unwrapped it, and it's right there. So the rectangle, the height of this rectangle is 16 centimeters. The length is the part that people have trouble with. Now, the easiest way to see the length is if you look like this. You see wrapped around this circle, around this base. It goes all the way around it, just like a circle, a Gatorade label or a Coke bottle label or anything. It goes all the way around it. So the length of this rectangle is the same distance as going around this circle. I'll show you again. The length of this rectangle from here all the way over to here is the same as going around that circle. Well, remember, going around the circle, another word for that is the circumference. So this is what really throws people off, is that the length of this rectangle is the circumference of that top circle. Now remember, circumference is diameter. In this case would be 20, because if the radius is 10, the diameter is 20. 20 times pi. Okay? So my length of my rectangle is 20 pi. Height is 16. So I need to multiply those two together because it's parallelogram. So this is what throws people off, is because you're doing circumference within your parallelogram formula, because it's your base times your height. Okay? To find that third side, so we have our two circles. Our third side is the height of our cylinder, because that's the height of the rectangle, times the circumference of that top, because that's the length of my rectangle. So let me grab my calculator. Go ahead and do that. So I have 20 pi is telling me the length of this rectangle all the way around is about 63 times 16, which is my height. So this rectangle is about 1,005 centimeters squared. So I have my rectangle is 1,005. 2 circles all together are 628 because they were each 314 individually. So now we got to add it all up. 1,633 centimeters squared. It's the surface area. Okay. So this is definitely the hardest of all of them. All right, I'm going to give a quick recap on how you find the surface area of each shape. Recap on how to find the surface area of each of these shapes. Definitely make sure you're taking on this because this will be helpful later. Alright, so starting with our rectangular prism, which was the easiest of the 3, we have one of your sides is going to be A, B, C. Okay, you have 3 dimensions. Everything's a rectangle. It doesn't really matter which is which. The main thing to remember is that this has 6 faces. Okay, there's 6 of them, so you need to account for all 6. 2 of them are going to be A times B, so I'm going to do 2 times A times B, my A side and my B side. 2 of them are going to be B, so A times C, and 2 B times C. The main thing is that each number goes with each of the other numbers, okay? And once you get all those numbers, just add them up, and that's your total surface area. So this is 2 of the sides, 2 more of the sides, and the last 2 sides for 6 sides altogether, all 6 faces together. Alright, so that's your rectangular prism. Triangular prism has 5 faces. Triangles, that you just do normal base times height divided by 2, finding the area. Okay? The next 3 are the sides. Okay? And remember, each side is a rectangle. You can see this rectangle right here. And each of them is going to have one side be the height of the shape. You see this H going between the 2 bases, between the 2 triangles. So each of them are going to have the height times one of the sides of the height times side A of the triangle would be one side. The height times side B is going to be the other side. And the height times would be the 3rd side of my triangle, my 3rd rectangular section going between the 2 triangles. Okay? And again, once I have my 2 triangles, and my 3 sides that are all rectangles, once I get all those numbers, I will add them up. Okay? Circles, so I'm going to do normal pi times radius squared, and I'm going to double it because there's 2 bases to circles. And then the complicated one side, that one side is a rectangle, remember, and it's going to be the height times the circumference. Okay? Because remember, times their circumference, which is diameter pi. And once I get the 2 circles and the rectangle, again, add them up to get my total. Alright, so these are the 3 shapes we're doing. This is the basic, if you want to call it formula or steps for finding the surface area. Again, surface area is the total area of all the faces on the 3D shapes. Easiest way, imagine wrapping paper covering the entire shape. That would be the surface area.